Welcome to the PFP podcast. I'm Luke Holloway, editor of Personal Finance Professional. In this episode, I'll be talking to Carla Brown. In this episode of the podcast, we're in conversation with the Personal Finance Society President for 2025, Carla Brown. As well as serving as the PFS President this year, Carla is CEO and Chartered Financial Planner at Oakmere Wealth Management and was the PFS Chartered Financial Planner of the Year for 2021-22. Here's my conversation with Carla. Hello, Carla, and thank you so much for joining us on the podcast today.
You're very welcome. Thank you for inviting me.
It's a real pleasure to have you with us, and huge congratulations again for being the PFS president for this year. We're really excited to have you, and it looks to be a very exciting year, 2025.
Thank you. Yes, it's a real honour to be appointed as president. I'm thrilled to be in the position. I'm very much looking forward to 2025 and seeing what we can do for the PFS.
Excellent. We can't wait to hear more about that. So if you could start, Carla, by telling us a little bit about your background in the financial services profession and also about your current role in financial planning.
Absolutely. Crikey. Well, I don't know how far back you want me to go, but I kind of fell into financial services back in the late 1990s, which kind of dates me a little bit. Having left university with a degree in English literature and no idea what I wanted to do in my life, but I knew I wanted to earn some money. So just started applying for jobs, and I got an admin job working for a company called Hambro Assured, who were linked to a chain of estate agents back then. So I started out in the pension review team, actually, age 22. Had no idea what a pension was, and then worked my way through there and ended up in the medical underwriting team. So underwriting life assurance applications that were being submitted by the mortgage brokers of the estate agencies. I used to get to chat to the mortgage brokers as they were chasing applications and finding out what they were doing on a day-to-day basis. And for me, my job entailed kind of reviewing files, looking at medical information, moving the file from pile A to pile B, never leaving my desk, never meeting anybody, never speaking to anybody really, never speaking to the end client. And I used to chat to the mortgage brokers, and they'd tell me about the day and who they were seeing, what they were doing, changing people's lives, helping them buy their first homes, the dream homes. And it just sounded far more interesting than what I was doing. So I started applying for roles as a trainee financial planner and got taken on by a company called Black Horse Agencies, who were later taken over by Bradford and Bingley. So I went through my FPC exams, CMAP, etc. And then back in 2001, just as the world was kind of imploding, I moved into the wealth side with Bradford and Bingley, became a wealth IFA, and was working out of their building society branches. And I really enjoyed it. It was a bit of a baptism of fire. It was a time when, there were market value reductions on all the with profits policies. We had fairly unsophisticated clients who had invested in what they thought were very safe assets. But it became very much about having conversations with clients and understanding what it meant to them. And that's really where my interest in proper financial planning came from. So from there, left there when I had my son, because I wanted a more flexible working arrangement, which a more local building society were able to offer me. And then I was headhunted by one of the large banks back in 2007 to work in their private client team as an IFA there. I really enjoyed what I was doing, working with clients, making a difference, but it was very much target driven. It was about numbers rather than people. So whilst it was a great learning platform, it didn't really tick all the boxes for me. And I felt it was something that I wanted to do differently. I wanted to be able to give clients a more holistic financial planning approach. And the banks became more risk aware. They stopped us dealing with elderly clients. And for me, that was a real no-no, because these clients have entrusted you with their money throughout their lives, their life savings. And they'd get to a certain age and you would say, no, sorry, you're on your own now. And that didn't sit well with me at all. So that's when I set up my own business, Oakmere Wealth Management, back in 2011, and haven't looked back since.
Amazing. I mean, it's a fascinating kind of journey you've had through the profession, and really varied roles. As you mentioned, pensions there, mortgages, banks, and now wealth management. But it sounds like it's the personal side of financial planning, those client relationships and a holistic approach. That's what really kind of appeals to you, that side of the profession.
Absolutely, absolutely. And one of my kind of strap lines is it's about people, not products. It's about the end client, the consumer outcome. It's about what it means to that individual client. Whatever the product is, it's about what it's doing for your client and what difference it's making to their life. And it's about the conversations that you have with people. That's the bit of the job that I really love. Getting to know people. I'm naturally a nosy person, so I like asking lots of questions. So it certainly ticks that box for me. And I have to say to my clients, I'm not just being nosy, I am asking for a reason. But, I am naturally inquisitive, and it means that you really get a good understanding of what your client wants out of life, what they're trying to achieve, what the dreams are, what the hopes are. And then you can build the financial plan around that.
Absolutely. I mean, we hear time and again how important curiosity is as a financial planner, a financial advisor. So yeah, that way you kind of get to know your client even better, and you can really kind of tune into their goals and their aspirations. So yeah, I'm sure that's really, really important and great to hear. And Carla, you mentioned some exams that you've taken during your career. Can you tell us a bit more about your involvement with the Personal Finance Society, when that began and what that's been since in recent years?
Yeah, absolutely. So I've been a member of the PFS for as long as it's been around, and then its predecessors before that. So I started off doing my FPC exams, I did CMAP. I then went on and did the J exams and became diploma qualified prior to RDR. I kind of did my chartered qualifications, so they have qualifications simultaneously. So I became chartered back in 2012 and fellow around the same time. So qualifications have always been really important to me. And I think where that stems from, back in the mid-90s, late 1990s, as a young female in a very male industry, as it was back then, it's now a profession, but an industry back then, I felt I had something to prove. And I felt that by becoming the most qualified person in the room was a good way to prove myself. And so that's why I really went out and did the exams so quickly. And so, kind of through a process, because I wanted to prove that I was as good, if not better than everybody else that was there. And so it's kind of continued from there. And I've always had this desire to learn. I didn't stop when I became fellow. I've gone on and done the Society for Later Life accreditation. I've done coaching accreditations. I've done the CFP qualification. That was just 2 years ago. 2018, I graduated with a master's degree in wealth management. So I'm constantly looking for the next thing that I can challenge myself with. I think qualifications are so important. I think not only because, it helps build trust and confidence in you as a planner, but also for your own self-confidence. If you can confidently sit there and answer a client's questions, then that's going to improve the rapport with the client. It's going to improve the trust between you and improve your relationship ultimately.
And you've made it clear, Carla, how important you think those professional qualifications are throughout your career, not just at the beginning, and also continuing professional development as well to kind of keep up to date with relevant learning and guidance. Is that something you encourage people in your firm also to pursue?
Most definitely. So every member of our team, when they join us, we agree a kind of professional development path. And part of that is the CII qualification. So they start off with the CF levels, and then we work with them to see how far they want to develop that. I've got some people in my team who are going through chartered now, and we've worked with them from inception. But it's really important that the qualifications that they're working towards are relevant to their position. So it's great that we have got such a range available through the CII and the PFS that we can kind of tick all those boxes, and using the professional map as well to look at, okay, where do you want your career to lead?
Absolutely. Yeah, there's some fantastic resources available to members, and I'm sure you'll be championing those this year. And returning to your involvement with the PFS, you've been a board member for recent years. What kind of led you into that professional relationship with the PFS?
Yeah, it's really interesting. So it kind of came on the back of winning the Chartered Planner of the Year award back in 2021-22. And that was an interesting time. That was obviously during the awards ceremony was during lockdown, so I never got to have the big awards ceremony, unfortunately. And that was my third attempt at going for that award. It really became my nemesis. I was determined, if I kept going long enough, eventually I'd wear them down, and it clearly worked. But it's something that's so important. But so that was where my kind of closer working relationship with the PFS kind of started. September 21, I applied to join the PFS Power Panel, Financial Planning Panel, which I'm still part of, currently the chair of, and I absolutely love working on. And so it's given me a chance to help shape the future of financial planning and sort of really get the message out there about the good that we do, which is fascinating. And then in 2023, I was asked to become a member director on the board, which was really exciting for me. I have been on boards previously. Obviously, I've got my own company, but I've also got previous experience of working with boards. So it was really sort of a role that interested me. Obviously, the PFS had been through quite a difficult time, which there's no secret there. But it felt like a really exciting time to be joining the board, in that we could start to really make a difference and start to move forwards. And it's not easy. It takes a lot more time than I'd anticipated, but I really enjoy the work that we're doing. And I do feel as though we are starting to make a difference, which is really rewarding.
That's amazing to hear. And yeah, certainly the start of 2025 feels like it is a kind of exciting time for the Personal Finance Society. So as you become the PFS president, what will there be a kind of theme for your presidency, a kind of focus in a certain area of financial planning? Can you tell us about that?
Indeed. So my theme for the year is education. And there's a few strands that kind of come from this. So I have for a long time been a huge advocate for increasing financial literacy and financial education in schools. So I've been working as a PFS education champion for probably, 4 or 5 years, I guess. I must be that, because I remember going and doing them virtually during lockdown. And this became a real thing for me back when my son was at primary school. So probably going back, 10, 15 years, maybe even longer. And I was aware that they just weren't taught about money in school. It's down to the parents. And I'm not saying, the parents shouldn't teach them about money, but this is something that should be on our curriculum in schools because it's so important. And so at the time I was working for one of the big banks who had an arrangement with PFEG to go in and deliver financial education sessions. So I started doing it back then. And then over time, the PFS developed their My Personal Finance skills. So I got involved with that. But for me, it's so important that, just equipping our young people with the ability to make sensible money decisions, the difference between debit and credit, the difference between good and bad loans. This is such important information that could really improve outcomes for so many people long term. Unfortunately, we've got kind of third generation now where people haven't had any education about money in schools. So it's something that I'm really interested in developing further. And through the work with the My Personal Finance skills and the Duke of Edinburgh, which I think is a fantastic initiative, bringing it through the Duke of Edinburgh as well, hopefully we can reach more people and help to improve the financial literacy. But also it's about raising the awareness of financial services as a profession. We are incredibly well qualified individuals, whatever your role is within our profession. And there's so many avenues that people can go down, but they just don't seem to be aware of it. And so, if we can get into education settings early on, if we can get into sixth forms, get into university settings, and start to raise awareness of financial planning or financial services as a career of choice, rather than people falling into it, as many of us have done, then hopefully that's going to, again, improve the number of people coming into financial services, but also encourage, a more diverse cohort as well coming through going forwards, because, we are typically an aging profession. We do need younger people coming through. So let's try and catch them early on and show them what a great career this can be.
Absolutely. It's such a fantastic area for you to focus on during 2025. I mean, those PFS education champions, those volunteers that we have across the profession going into schools and spreading that education and that message is incredibly important. I mean, the initiative's been running for more than 5 years now, and that must have reached thousands and thousands of kind of school children already. So yeah, that's a fantastic area to focus on. And also, as you said, the other side of it, spreading the message of what a rewarding and varied, interesting career financial planning can be, because a lot of students don't know about it or know enough about it.
Absolutely. I mean, I think it's the best job in the world. I may be slightly biased, but I want to tell people about it.
Excellent. And can we speak a bit more generally about what the PFS will be offering members in 2025, Carla? Can you tell listeners a little bit more about what the PFS will be giving members in 2025?
Yeah, absolutely. We are aware as a board that we need to change things up a little bit. Things need to be done differently. I had the pleasure of going to the officers' conference in November this year. And, we take on board the feedback that we heard. We haven't been getting it right necessarily in all areas, in many areas, I would probably say. And we do need to start improving the services that we provide for our members. So, we're very aware that we need to improve our events program for 2025. And I think we're on track to deliver that. We're going to more areas. We're delivering more events, more relevant content, hopefully some great speakers lined up. I know the spring roadshow is looking fantastic already. So hopefully that's going to tick the box with regards to events. We've listened to the fact that people want to network. We want more technical information at the event. So, we really are taking on board the feedback. We know we need to overhaul the website. That is a work in progress. It's the devil's own job trying to find anything on there at the moment. So we know there are issues with that. We need to make it easier for members to find things. We also know we need to make it easier to allow members to record CPD. So this is something that is definitely on the roadmap, and we're looking to start making inroads into that very soon. We also know that across our PFS volunteers, of which there are many and how important they are, that we need to make it easier for the regional committees to communicate with the members. And that's something that's going to be delivered very early in 2025. So hopefully that's going to mean that the communications that are coming through from the regional committees are going to be more targeted to the local areas. They're going to be more topical, more relevant, and it's going to allow more of a two-way communication between the regional committees and the members, which hopefully will make people feel more listened to. Also, we've got things like Connect, which is, the mentoring program, which we would love to develop. We've got the New Generations program, which we're expanding to include financial services as well. And, a particular area of interest for me is around PFS Power. So PFS Power is something that's been going along in the background for a long time now, and we're just getting the traction that we need to make this more visible. So hopefully in 2025, you're going to see and hear a lot more from the PFS Power team. And we've got a great team of individuals on there. They're so enthusiastic. There's so many ideas coming through that we're just now shaping what this is going to look like for 2025. It's going to be really exciting. And then, of course, we've got the national conference again later in the year, which if it's anything like 2024 will be amazing.
Excellent. I mean, there's some really important areas there that you've highlighted where, continuing the excellent work already or making improvements will provide members benefits, I'm sure. And there's a huge amount that the PFS will be offering members this year. So that's fantastic to hear. It'd also be great to find out a little bit more about how you'll be engaging with PFS members during 2025, as well as our PFS regional committees. Carla, can you tell us about that?
Oh, most definitely. So certainly as president and my fellow member directors, we're really keen to get out and engage with members. The officers conference and at the national conference, I encourage people to come and talk to me, invite me to events. I want to come out and meet people. I want to speak to members. I want to hear what's going on. I want to hear what our members actually want from us, because we can only take a guess. If we don't know, then, we may not be getting it right. So please do tell us. One of the things that we're starting very early in 2025 is we're going to be having President's Think Tank. So we're going to be gathering together the regional chairs on a bi-monthly basis, so we can really keep close to the regional committees and find out how things are going there. But also we're going to be having online events for members to join as well, where they can meet the board, speak to myself, speak to other board members and ask questions. We want to make the board more accessible, because I think it's really important that we stay close to what our members want. As I've said before, we know we've not got it right. We know we need to change things, but we want to make sure we're changing things in the way that our members want us to change things. So please do communicate with us. Please let us know what you want, because we are listening.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's really important to highlight that open dialogue. And as you say, that the board and the Personal Finance Society as a whole will be listening to members and giving them, more of what they need in their profession. And we've touched on the vital role that volunteers play as part of the PFS. What would you say about the role that they play in making our PFS regional committees a success?
Oh, volunteers are so important. When we look at the regional committees, and again, we know they've not had the support that they should have had in the last 12 months, and we are looking to now make changes there. So hopefully that's going to make a real difference to the regional committees. We want to support them. We want to make it work. We want to help our volunteers feel supported. But looking at the events that they have put on, they're absolutely fantastic. We also want the regional committees to be more involved in the exchange events that are going on as well. So communicating more with our regional areas around what locations we should be going to, what event spaces we should be using to make sure we get it right for members. There's no point us putting an event on in the wrong town, in the wrong place, in the wrong location, if no one's going to turn up for it. We want to make these events relevant. So that engagement with the volunteers is so important. As a board, we really do appreciate the work, the hard work that our volunteers do put in. It's massively appreciated, and we want the volunteers to feel supported, whatever role they're in, whether it's, as an education champion, as a regional chair, as a committee member. We want them to feel listened to. We want them to feel supported. We want them to be able to do what it is that they want to do.
And Carla, let's speak a little bit more about the wider profession and indeed perhaps society as a whole. I mean, what are some of the main trends in financial services you see making a big impact in the next 5 years? Or perhaps another way to look at it, where can financial planning professionals and firms have the greatest impact?
Oh, I think it's going to be a really interesting few years. We're still kind of navigating through consumer duty and looking at the kind of the longer term impacts of that. I think AI undoubtedly is going to be the biggest impact over the coming years. And it's, we're already seeing what I think are very small advances in the technology. And I'm sure, the exponential growth on these technology solutions that are available now is going to make life so much easier going forwards. I don't think it's ever going to, do away the need for people to have relationships with financial planners. I think that's always going to be there. People like talking to people. It's about building that relationship, and AI can't do that. It can certainly help make our jobs easier, though. So you're looking at how we can harness AI solutions to improve our back office systems, to look at, how it can enable more compliant, quicker report writing. Can it develop propositions that are going to be compliant and suitable for clients? So looking at how we can utilize technology behind the scenes whilst maintaining that client-facing relationship, I think is going to be a real game changer, and it will allow us to hopefully reach more clients as well. But also looking at how technology can perhaps improve access to advice for people who aren't currently receiving advice. So we're aware there is this huge advice gap in the UK, and I don't think consumer duty has helped that. That's probably one of the unintended consequences of consumer duty, in that when I look at my own business, we've got to look at the commercial viability of servicing clients now. Is that client going to be profitable to us? We would love to help everybody, but we are a business at the end of the day. So we have to take this commercial view. So if we can utilize technology in some way to help serve the clients that maybe wouldn't normally have access to advice, I think that could be massive as well. So I think there's going to be some really interesting areas of growth in the coming years, but also looking at how we can utilize technology to help people earlier on in their career as well. So whether it's through learning and development, through training that we can do, can that be, can we utilize AI or technology in that way as well to make that process slicker? So I think there's lots of things going on. We need to really focus on communicating with the regulator, making sure the regulator understands what it is that we do. I think for the PFS, we need to become better thought leaders. We need to be making sure our members' voices are heard in dialogue with the regulator, because I'm not sure they necessarily always understand the consequences of the regulation they bring in. Regulation is a good thing, but it's got to be, we don't want unintended consequences from regulation. We want to make sure that we can enact it in a way that is fair to all. So I think there's going to be lots of changes going forwards. It's going to be a really exciting time for the profession.
Yeah, there's certainly some fascinating areas that you've touched upon there. I mean, technology's, of course, a huge area that we're hearing more and more about. There's, often articles in the Personal Finance Professional magazine, which are really interesting in terms of how much financial advisors are actually adopting the technology, and also the kind of ethics and that side of it, the kind of the safety aspect of it. But something that always runs underneath that is the importance of the human touch and the continued relationships that certainly will continue to be vital.
Yeah, and I don't think that's going to change. People by people, don't they? It's about the relationship at the end of the day, and that can't be replaced by technology.
Absolutely. And you mentioned also there about the PFS being kind of a voice for members with the regulator. You of course have your day-to-day experience with your own firm and your own clients. So it's important to, for us to be a voice and let the regulator know the reality of some of this regulation and these changes that are happening.
Most definitely. Our members feel this on a daily basis. There are lots of issues that perhaps need to be raised with the regulator. And, as the PFS, as the, preeminent professional body, can we become that conduit between members and the regulator? That's really where I think we should be sitting.
Absolutely. Carla, it's clear you're very busy with your commitments, both at Oakmere, your own firm, as well as with the PFS now. I mean, what are some of your interests kind of away from your professional life, if you have any time for those at all?
Oh, I make time for those. So what are my interests? Well, I think my main interest is keeping fit and running. So I've run ever since school, really. So starting off doing cross country at school, and I'm a member of a trail running club. So I love nothing more than just getting out into the forest. Used to take my dog with me, but he's a little bit old now, so I have to go on my own now. But just getting out, running in the forest clears the mind. Such a stress reliever. If it's in the middle of winter and it's too dark, then I'll go to the gym. But yeah, keeping fit is probably my main hobby. Other than that, I love travel. I love seeing different parts of the world, different cultures. And I'm really lucky that I'm in a role and a profession where I can do that. So through, I'm a member of $1 Million Round Table. We get to go overseas to conferences, and that allows me to travel a lot more and speak at events out there. I'm combining the two passions in my life, work and travel. I think I'm really lucky to be able to do that. And obviously, spending time with family and friends. I think certainly as I've got older, I've realized how important that time is. It's spending time with the people that you really care about, because we don't know how long we've got. It's key that you keep those relationships and, you value them. So it's really important to make time to spend with family and friends. I'm really lucky, I am busy, but I've got a really supportive family who keep me very grounded. And I just love spending time with them.
Wow, that's really lovely to hear. Thank you, Carla. And my final question on today's show, hopefully quite a positive note to end on, Carla. What are your hopes for the future of the personal finance profession as a whole?
Oh, wow. That's a big question, isn't it? What are my hopes for the profession? Crikey. What I would love is for us to be able to get people coming into the profession earlier on. So I would love to see more education settings offering degrees in financial services. I would love it to become much more mainstream, the same way it is for accountants and solicitors. I would love people to be coming out of school and saying, I want to be a financial planner. We're not there yet. I would hope that's where we can get to. Let's have it seen as a career of choice that people want to be part of, and let's try and lose all the negativity from the past. We are so different from where we were 20 years ago, and we just need to be able to build that trust and that confidence with the general public that people will start to really value what we do. And I think it's definitely about helping people see the value of advice. Our clients clearly value what we do. A lot of the public don't know what we do. So I think we need to be coming together. We need to be collaborating. We need to be a unified profession. And we need to be shouting about all the good that we're doing on a daily basis and the lives that we're changing.
Fantastic. A really positive and encouraging note to end on there, Carla. So thank you so much for joining us on the podcast today. It's been really insightful. All the best for 2025 in your presidency, and 2025 certainly promises to be an exciting year. So thanks for joining us on the podcast today.
You're very welcome. And thank you again for having me.
And thank you very much for listening to this episode of the PFP podcast. For more information, podcasts and useful links, visit pfp.thepfs.org/podcasts. So until next time, thank you for listening and goodbye.